and welcome to this episode of Voices of Fostering. And today I'm delighted to be joined by somebody live in the studio, which is really exciting. Welcome to the podcast, Scott.
Thank you.
Hello, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Scott, you've got a really interesting story. You've been fostering for less than 2 years, but it's been quite a unique journey for you over those 2 years. And when I first saw your story, I thought, you know what? That is such an interesting thing to talk about because, you know, as adults in real life, you try and prepare for every eventuality. You want to understand what it would be like if that happened. So take us right back to, you know, over 2 years ago, probably now, when you were starting to think about fostering with your ex-wife, wasn't it? So tell us what happened in the very beginning.
So we were kind of talking about what we wanted to do in terms of giving back. We had our house, we had, you know, the time and the energy, and we wanted to do something good, something positive karma, almost. And we started to go down the fostering route. A lot of my ex-wife's family was also in fostering. Yeah. So we thought that was a really good option. And we looked into it, did our research, and we talked to many different people from that way of life, and it was just seemed right. Yeah. And then, we kicked off the application form and headed straight into it.
Yeah. And what did you find the application process like, and the process to being approved?
Long and in depth.
Yeah.
But that's not a negative.
Yeah.
That's a very good thing. Yeah. We kind of relished in the deep diving of the questions because it's needed.
Yeah, definitely. Because people always say that, you know, the word intrusive gets used quite a lot, but it has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is very intrusive. There's no stone unturned, but it's positive. It is needed.
And when you first started that process, what sort of fostering did you imagine that you were going to do? Did you have a sort of ideal scenario in mind?
Yeah, well, actually, the ideal scenario we had was the one that fell into. Okay. So we had, we wanted a boy and a girl, siblings of certain ages. Yeah. And we were very lucky because that's exactly what we were placed with.
Right, okay.
So, which doesn't happen very often, I don't think.
Well, I feel like most of the time people say, you know, we thought we wanted this, and then actually we ended up with, you know, a completely different type of fostering, completely different scenario sort of thing. So that's quite nice, actually, that, you know, what you'd set your sights on, you ended up experiencing, really.
Yeah, I think I got the idea that it's quite rare. Yeah. It doesn't happen very often. And we were very lucky. Yeah. Very, very lucky.
So tell us what happened then. You had a boy and a girl come and live with you. What was that like at the beginning?
It's a huge shock when you don't have much experience with children. You kind of get the ideas of what you think it represents and what you need to do. Yeah. Kind of going back to your own childhood, you kind of think, well, you know, there's a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, and you kind of figure out as you go almost. But there's so many challenges that arise that you don't think of when you're going through the process. Yeah. You know, for example, when you have kids coming in and out of the house all day, you know, summer holidays, they have their friends come over, and nothing really prepares you for that busy household. Yeah. It's lovely. It's great. It's a big positive, but it comes with its challenges. Yeah. It's all a bit of a surprise. So you can go in and do as much research as you can, but nothing ever really prepares you for it. Yeah.
Because had you or your wife had children in your home before? Had you had children in your lives before?
No, we have nieces and nephews, and you know, we have kids in the family and plenty of them.
The ones that you can give back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The ones that you can have for a few hours at the zoo and then go back home, and then relax at home. But
so it was quite different.
Yeah, and it was very. It's very positive though. Yeah, very positive, but very different.
But of course, with fostering, you get essentially trained to be a parent, don't you?
Yes.
Because you do your skills to foster and everything. So how did you find that?
I was going to say intrusive, but we use that word a lot. But no, it's incredibly detailed, very in depth, and again, no stone goes unturned when it comes to any questions that you have. Yeah. Everyone's very helpful. From the National Fostering, it's all incredibly detailed, and I think the best way of probably putting it would be that there's never a stupid question. Yeah. So you can ask anything you want, and you'll get the right answer, or whatever answer you're going to need, you get. Yeah. But it really helps prepare you as much as it can possibly prepare you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you've always got that support of, your social worker, the whole team around you. Did you feel like you can always pick up the phone? There's always someone there to help you?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day, Monday to Sunday.
Yeah.
It's 24/7 support. It really is. And there's such good community around the fostering agency as well. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's friends with everyone. You go to the events that we set up, and we have an amazing events team at the fostering agency. And there's always events going on where you can network and you make friends.
Yeah.
And then you have constant communication with other foster carers, the fostering group themselves, and it's a fantastic community.
Yeah.
So 24/7 support.
So then you get about a year into, having this girl and boy living with you, everything's going well. But then what happened then?
So essentially just the marriage broke down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was very amicably so.
Yeah.
So, but it was again, an opportunity to give a positive experience to the kids.
Yeah, because I imagine, children who come into care, quite often they have seen the breakdown of relationships,
Yes.
haven't they? They've maybe not seen the best examples of healthy relationships. So I suppose that was a good opportunity for you to show what an amicable breakup can look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we sat down and we had that full conversation, and the communication was always very effective throughout my marriage anyway.
Yeah.
So this was a real big opportunity for us to sit down and say, okay, this is what's going to be affected.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure the kids don't experience any negatives from it.
Yeah.
And historically, I won't go into detail, but historically there's been previous breakups which it hasn't been very positive for them. So this was a really good opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And it's been very good for them, I think.
Yeah. So what did you do in the first instance? Did you just ring your social worker and say, look, me and my wife, it's not working out, we're going to split up? And what was the response like?
Well, we actually, conveniently so, it was on a Friday. So we had the weekend to discuss and how we wanted to approach it. And yeah, we contacted them as our kind of earliest opportunity to have that conversation where emotions are kind of a little bit more level.
Yeah.
And the response is a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
We were very close with our social worker and still is. So we still are. So it was a little bit of a shock. But then starts the process of the support. That's the first thing you get.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
What more can we do to support you?
Yeah.
Which was lovely to hear, actually.
And I suppose one of the main priorities, like it is in any relationship with birth children, you think about your kids, don't you? And you think you don't want it to negatively affect them. They become the focus, really, don't they? So what sort of plan was put in place? And did you both decide really there and then that you both wanted to stay in fostering?
Yeah, so I did take a few months to kind of make a decision around work and the new way of life that was going to come to me. It was, what do I want to do? What's going to be the best thing? And yeah, the reality of it is we both decided we wanted to stay into it, and it would be two separate, we become solo carers, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to kind of go through the process again, but it wasn't too in depth. But yeah, you have to really think about the changes from not just from the kids and what's good for them, but also what's best for you as well.
Yeah. So what's the situation now then? Your ex-wife has the same children with her.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you see them at all? Or?
Not in terms of a agreement.
Yeah.
It's they live very close to me.
Right. Okay.
So in the holidays you see them out and about, and
Yeah.
they come up and they say hello, and that's not a problem. Like I have no issue with that. But there's no actual agreement in place where I would go over and see them, or I have them for weekends or anything. There's none of that agreement for sure.
Yeah.
No.
It was agreed that it was more stable for them really to have your ex-wife as the primary carer and keep it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And stability was a big conversation point. We really wanted things to be stable, and we didn't want to be disruptive to the children's growth, because we were also coming to the point where schools were changing.
Yeah.
New friends were coming in, new friends were going out. They were starting to get incredibly settled. So it was a little bit of a difficult time for them, but also at the same time, we worked it extremely well to the point where it didn't affect them.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did the children respond?
I think because of the history, they understood what it meant and kind of what was going to what was going to happen in the future, that there'd be some changes, and they were so used to it. They were so resilient, and kids are super resilient, right? Until they're not, but they were very, very resilient to the whole situation. And I think them seeing the process of them still being able to come over and see me whenever kind of I'm getting back from work or something, it helped them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was helpful, as we said before, to see that healthy way of breaking up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really important for them to see.
Yeah. So what's your situation now as a foster carer then? You're a respite carer.
Yes, solo respite carer,
Yeah, so why have you decided to do that? How does it fit into your life?
Well, same kind of reason really as the beginning. I wanted to make sure I'm giving something back.
Yeah.
I was left with when you go from having a full house to then having just you on your own, it's a bit quiet. The silence can be deafening.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give something back, of course. So I was like, I have the room in the house, and it's always nice to have a little guest room set up, and the way I've got it set up at the moment is it's kind of like a hotel room experience. Like when you're a child, the most exciting thing is to go to a hotel room and
still is as an
mess
adult.
around. Yeah, I know. It absolutely is. So I wanted to kind of set it up with a kind of a home away from home, but also like a holiday experience.
Yeah.
So it's nice to do that and give children that experience, because there's not many, even if they're only with me for a weekend or maybe a week at a time, at least they can have some element of difference and a different way of life, a bit of positivity. And, I'm a very active person, so I'm always out and about, and it's always nice to have them kind of come along with me.
So have you had a child to come to live with you yet?
So since I started respite, not yet.
No.
And that as an element, that's mainly because work as well as the it's not always the right thing that pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of maybe not just the child itself, but maybe their requirements. Mm. Yeah. So timing maybe.
Yeah. So for anybody who's watching or listening who's maybe not familiar with what respite is, what sort of situations brings a child to, stay with you for a couple of weeks, or is it sometimes just a couple of nights?
Yeah, so it could be 1 night, 2 nights.
Yeah.
I think the most kind of common one is on a Friday, they'd kind of come over after school and then they'd get dropped back off at school on the Monday. Yeah. So it's just kind of a weekend thing, really.
So is it like the main carers, they're having, a weekend away or something like that? Is it?
Yeah,
is it that
it could be a number of factors. So I think the main one is if, for example, the children don't have a passport. The foster carers are still going to go on holiday because, of course, they still have their life to live, I guess, in a way. So it's something a little bit different. Like they can't go somewhere; they need somewhere else to go, or maybe the children just want a break, and they've been maybe they're in long-term care, and they've been there for quite a while. Maybe they're starting to get a little bit unsettled, and they want a little bit of a break. And then they go somewhere else. And that could be a regular thing,
Yeah, so you can sort of build up a relationship with a child or children where you see them maybe a couple of times a year or something. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I think the one thing we're looking at the moment is once a month.
Oh, right,
It's kind of one weekend that's scheduled every month.
Oh, wow.
Which certainly makes life a lot easier for scheduling. And it's good for the children as well. Because if they're struggling, then they know that they can... in a few weeks, they have a break.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about that? Because you're sort of on the precipice of that, aren't you? And obviously you've previously had children with you longer term. How are you feeling going into that?
I'm super excited. I mean, I'm talking to my social worker all the time. I'm like, have we got something happening?
Yeah, right.
Is there something in the works? And it's always very exciting. And I'm ready for it. Like I want it to happen now. And of course, there's challenges around timing with work and things. Yeah. But it's got to work for everyone. But I'm super excited.
What do you imagine for the future, Scott? Because obviously things change. Your work situation might change. You might be able to have a child or children longer term again. Do you see things maybe possibly changing for you as time goes on?
It's difficult to say. I think at the moment I'm very engrossed in my career.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't want to stop the fostering side of things as well. So I think it's always going to be a part of my life. And regardless of what decisions I make in the future, I think it's always going to be around. So I'll base my what I can do, I'll base it on what I am doing in terms of fostering as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I was offered a position where I have to move away, it's probably not something that I would pursue because I'd like to stay here and foster.
Yeah. I think you're such a good role model, though, for people maybe listening or watching who think, I really would like to give back. I really would like to have children in my life. Maybe they haven't been able to, have children in their life for one reason or another. And I think sometimes you think, oh, well, I couldn't do it because of this, or because I travel with work or whatever. But it really can be for anyone, can't it? You can fit it into your life, can't you? Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people think it's very restrictive, but actually there's so much flexibility around it, and you have the freedom of choice. You're not forced into these situations that you are not comfortable in. You're really put first. And I mean, I am away a lot with work. I travel a huge amount with work. I'm always somewhere or other in the world.
Yeah.
But there's always an opportunity, and I really don't think there's many things that should stop you from doing it.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we've talked a lot about giving back, it being rewarding. What have been the most rewarding parts of fostering for you? Is there anything that sticks out?
I would say being able to give the children new experiences that they would never have had previously.
Yeah.
Just like having a day at the zoo, going to the aquarium, just the simplistic things of being a child that everyone should have the benefiting from.
Yeah.
It's a simple answer to the question, I guess, but that's it. I think that's all it needs. I
can imagine you're quite fascinating to children as well, especially because you travel so much and stuff. You've probably got lots of stories to tell.
Yeah, I have quite a, I guess I won't get too much into what I do, but it's based around boats a lot.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's always quite a fascinating conversation with the children.
It's interesting
about
stuff
what I
to
do,
talk about, yeah. So if anybody was watching or listening there and they're thinking about it and they're not sure, how would you encourage someone to just go for it, Scott?
I would say you don't have to just dive into the deep end.
Yeah.
You can start in the shallow end and work your way out.
Beautiful analogy.
Thank you. Yeah. It's such a simple way of putting it.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to ask as many questions as you want. And it all starts with one phone call.
Yeah, one conversation, really.
And having a conversation about a new opportunity never hurt anybody.
Yeah, and I think something we always go back to as well is that it doesn't mean it has to happen now. It's like you can have that conversation and then maybe decide, actually, it's not the right time for me or my family right now. But it starts that ball rolling, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many different types of fostering.
Yeah.
There's fostering for everybody.
Yeah.
There is something that will work for you and you just may not know it yet.
Yeah. Well, it's been wonderful to chat to you today, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Voices of Fostering. If you'd like to find out more, head online and search National Fostering Group and make this the year you foster.